Hi. How's it going?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. I know I feel like it's been a long time already. We've all been together basically every day for the last 6 months.
Yeah. Truly. Just kind of how have expectations changed going into this offseason? I feel like going into last offseason, like no one knew what to expect, but now you guys were a playoff team. Does that move the goalposts at all for like what you're looking for from this organization next year, or like what's kind of the thought on that?
Yeah, I think, and you probably see this from Mohammed and Natalie too, but our mindset for ourselves is always, how can we do it better, right? It's not that we've accomplished anything or that there's this moment of, we had a wonderful year one. Very candidly, we've been hard at work on 2026 for a very long time. We are finalizing our season ticket renewal with our incredible fans. That came back at over 90%. But we are already working on our themes and moments to celebrate, what our fans have really put together. But the goalposts, there's a lot out there with the numbers of the success that this team has had, and that matters. But we're not satisfied with that, right? For us, Peter Guber puts it best, and we think about it all the time of this is the beginning of the beginning, right? This isn't a movie premiere. This is a team that will be here forever and build legacy and to be a part of this great league. And so for us, we're constantly thinking of the things we did well, but that we think we can make better, and the things that we haven't done yet that we want to, and maybe we have some bandwidth to think about that.
Hey, Jess. I'm just curious. Would you say flattering or frustrating that multiple of your front office staff have been poached by other expansion teams? That kind of says that what you guys have done is a success, but then does it make it harder going into year two, trying to get new people in?
I mean, from my seat, from the business seat, it doesn't. I think that, I think you're probably referencing Kimberly Veal for us, who was a great person coming from the Warriors from 6 years, background in the W for 6 years before that. She helped us build and put together a really valuable team. And she made a decision that was best for herself. And, we wish her all the best in continuing to grow this league, which is really important. But it also allows us to take a look at what else we need going into year 2, 3, 4. So for us, it's about her, not necessarily us, I think, in the work that she's accomplished. And hiring will be a big piece of, I think, everybody's strategy moving into year 2 is expected. And that just adds a layer to that for sure.
Hey, Jess. Earlier this year, Joe Lacob talked about how, his expectation was can we fill the lower bowl at Chase Center? And then he was kind of surprised opening night that the whole stadium was packed out, and it continued that way. How do you just kind of build on creating that fan base going into year 2? And were you surprised that the fan base kind of evolved so quickly?
I was not surprised that we are selling out Chase Center and the fan base came together. I knew that if we did what we knew we were capable of, that's exactly what the outcome would be. I think the behind closed doors, that doesn't take away the work that you have to do to get there. You can have the great ideas, you can know what you have to do, but you have to invest in it and then also work relentlessly to do that, and took the fans picking up what we were putting down and are listening to them too, I think, to make that happen. But if you were a part of my very first day at Golden State, before people knew I was announced before that press conference, we were set up in Chase Center, and I was in the Chase Club, and the employees were there, and if there's a video that just says it's not okay to sell 10,000 tickets, we need to be selling more. And I think that's been the expectation, because that's what these great athletes deserve, but that's also who the Bay Area is. So for us, our organization began by listening to the fans. The Valkyries name comes from the fact that it was out there because the fans voted on that. And I think for us to continue to grow, we have to keep listening, right? We shouldn't be a small group of people in a room making decisions for the continual evolution of who the Valkyries are. We need to make sure that we are, my favorite thing to do on game days is to walk around and to talk to different fans sitting in different areas, understand why they're there. We have a floor seat holder that traveled up from Fresno for almost every single game, right? Those stories matter, but I think it also helps us understand and guide the decisions that we're making internally about what they want from us and where they want to see us show up.
In that similar vein, it seemed like the live events at the stadium, just sort of there were things that you guys kept, but also added to the Go Valks chant, I think was one of those things.
Go Valks.
Yeah. How did you guys sort of manage taking things you prep for and also, adapting to the fans and everything?
Yeah, we have a really talented game entertainment team, and we spent a lot of time on that heading into the season. The open video, really setting the tone, Valhalla being something that we knew we wanted to build, but that you can't just build something and not expect that it needs to be like cohesive between the environment that's in there. We learned a ton on that preseason game. We were testing some different things, and what we learned is basically any recall that the fans were open to it, right? And also guiding it in their own way. The goal Valks came from our players, and I think that's what's really beautiful about it. You know, all of us have watched, me just as much as the fans, the relationship between the players and the fans unfold this year, and the fact that they picked up what our players do pregame on camera, not necessarily in venue, and then made that a venue moment, I think is the best part about in-game entertainment, is when all of that comes together at the right time. Just like the wave, we're not prompting the wave, but our fans are, and it's fun, you know. And I think that's what you find with Valhalla, is that no matter what the energy is, the fans feel that energy, right? So the lulls that you may have of waiting for a play to get called and other things, you know, the party doesn't stop in Valhalla.
Jess, it was clear as the season progressed that everyone coming in was just kind of like, what's happening here? All the opposition. How important is it to create that environment, that winning culture, that kind of like, oh my gosh, destination, especially since it's coming up with the CBA and everything?
Yeah, for us, what I shared with our roster and Natalie and Ohema for the business team, it's our job to give the best home court advantage that you've ever seen. That was the brief in front of us, to make sure that when they walked through those doors, they knew that our fan base and how we curated this community would be supporting them in the way that you saw happen. So I think, when Ohema and Natalie think about that and they hear the players talk about that experience, I think that probably speaks best versus me kind of noting on it. But it's all important. It all fits together, and I think while we've built a Bay Area opportunity here in what we've created on our game days, I think it's also important to note that we have fans across the U.S. If you attended, you were on the road with us, which was so appreciated. There's Valkyries fans in every single market. When we launched our brand on opening day of 2024, we sold merchandise in 70 countries in all 50 states too. And I think that type of following for what we've created and people connecting to our brand can't be minimized when you think of the fact that they're also connecting with our players through our brand in that same way. And I think you saw that happen with our entire roster this year.
I'm curious, just going off of that, how important is it to keep that momentum in the off season? And what are your plans? I know you kind of alluded there at the beginning that you guys are planning some fan events or something.
Yes. We don't call it the off season. It's always, my husband, we were dating for the first year we were dating, I was working in baseball, and I was like, this is my busy season. It's in the season. And then the season ended, and I said, well, this is my busy season because we're planning the entire season. And then after 2 years, he just said, you're just lying to yourself. And he's correct. Because we want to get everything so right and think about it intentionally, we've been laying that groundwork, from candidly, opening week is really when we were working on 2026. So the off season for us will be filled with community appearances, the players that are in market, making sure that we are bringing them, where they'd like to be seen and kind of threaded through that moment. We now have our bestie in Violet, right? And she's going to be somebody that we have an opportunity to bring out as well. But you saw us for an entire year without a player really do the same things, and that's not going to turn off. It's only going to continue to grow. We now have, I think at the beginning of the season, we had around 50 full-time employees just on the business side, just for the Valkyries, not counting our shared service. We're hiring, we'll have close to 70 full-time employees here in the next number of months. So showcasing the growth, but also showcasing for us the connection we want to keep making. One of the elements that I'm most proud of in Golden State in total is the rebrand to Golden State. While it seems subtle, I don't think you can take for granted the power that it shows to have Golden State Shop versus just Warriors Shop, Golden State Foundation versus just Warriors Foundation, but most importantly to me, the Golden State Sports Academy. That is, where they had the most robust, youth academy in the NBA. It's now branded for both of us. All the kids that participate get reversible jerseys for the Valkyries and the Warriors. So the community work for us is just starting. And, we've built some great relationships and people that have helped us along the way. But as we can continue to make an impact, both for those that can attend our games and elsewhere, we look forward to the fandom continuing to grow as well.
Jess, perhaps there's not much you can say about this, or you're not the right person to ask, but I'm curious, with all the merchandise success you've had and all the fan support, selling out 23 games, including the playoffs, Does that increase the likelihood, or have you guys had conversations about an alternate uniform for next year, a third uniform, maybe with a violet base?
Is this the tease that we're all waiting for? Well, I can't answer any specifics about what the uniforms will look like moving into next year. It's going to be incredible. I think one of the things you've seen us do is work with intention, but also really think about the history of women's sports here in the Bay Area. And that's kind of all I'll say there. But we're really excited about what the uniforms and merchandise opportunities look like moving into 2026.
Hi, Jess. You touched on the intro video a little bit, and I know people went crazy for the hype video. I wanted to hear a little bit, if you're able to share what drove that creative discussion and then kind of what you could bounce off of that for next year.
Yeah. As we walked through the venue, and it was the same exercise as when we built the Valkyries brand, right? But when we walked through the venue, we thought, when you walk through these doors, when you're sitting in the bowl, what makes you know that you are in Valhalla, right? And for us, we had to make the decision of how far into the lore do we want to go? And we coupled that with having a brand new roster of players to play with, introducing, candidly, the WNBA to this region for the first time for many. Many times that's their first WNBA experience. And really setting a definitive tone of this is Valhalla. And we felt like our intro video was our best opportunity to do that. But how do we make it authentically Bay Area, right? So after that video plays and everyone's hyped on seeing that you hear the drop of Too Short and the dance team to come out, right? So for us, it's about always marrying those two things and making it, reflective of the vibe of the entire Bay Area, which is innovative, is where anything's possible, feels magical in so many different ways. And that's what we wanted Valhalla to feel like and to inspire the people next to us. And I think the feedback's been tremendous, but for us, a lot of that work will get done in the next number of months as we think through what are our uniforms for next year? What does 2026 look and feel like? What is this next progression? We still have that chip on our shoulder. We are not satisfied with anything that we've already completed. And I think our fans aren't either, right? They are getting recognized for the environment that they created, but how do we feed them more and make that even more incredible next year? I love our fans so much.